Would you like to support Cubs Out Loud? One way is to join us over on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, patrons get early access to our shows, the pre and post show, and various other rewards. You can learn more at patreon.com/Cubs Out Loud. Thanks to all our patrons for their support in making this podcast. It's Sunday, November 6th, 2022. I'm Jeff.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I'm Damon.
I don't brew the tea, I just serve it.
And that makes me Gary.
Everyone else is thinking it, and I just say it.
Well, welcome to Cubs Out Loud, the Bear Podcast of Indeterminate Length, episode number 670. I should have looked right in front of me. It's right there. And it's that time of the month again, folks. It's that time where we do this. To boldly go. A little new project blues. So, first off, I if I remember correctly, I did spend a lot of this month watching Star Trek. Like getting caught up in Discovery and Picard and Strange New Worlds. Tried watching Lower Decks, realized this comedy is like way not my style. But you know, I'll accept it. But I'm not gonna watch it because it'll be like cringe and skip. And then I'm like, well, I should at least get an idea of what the story was like. But I also watched Star Trek Prodigy, which features a hologram Catherine Janeway as well as Admiral Janeway. And a Chakotay.
Mm-hmm.
So, got caught up on all that, and then to get caught up on Lower Decks because I can't watch the show. I just can't. I went to a nice little YouTube channel called Trek Culture and watched their ups and downs for their entire thing. So they talk about the storyline there, so I at least get an idea of what happened, as well as getting some commentary. Trek Culture is a good channel. I like Trek Culture a lot.
I like it as well. I subscribed earlier this year, last year. Sean Farrick. Hey, Sean. Not that you'll probably see this show. He's a cutie.
And family.
He is family. He's bisexual. He's a sex worker. He's sex positive.
Oh, I didn't know those last two there.
Oh, yeah. Well, he has an alt Twitter. I follow that too. And so, no, it's funny because I'm like, you're so fun. Like, if I was to see you at David, if I was to see Sean like out and about, like, I don't want to have sex with him. He's not necessarily my type, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'd be like, can we have a drink? Like, can we just sit and like kind of geek out or like, you know, have a conversation? Because you seem really cool. You know, so yeah, it's
you will be providing his alt at when?
Yeah.
I
think that's what the two of us had just like.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hold on.
now I have to go look for it on Twitter. But anyways, I'm glad that you found it because I do like Sean does have that series called Ups and Downs, where he basically rates each episode of most of the current Star Trek series that are out there. And really deep dives into lore and like has this whole thing with Canon Watch and talks about like how inferences to past things are now present or changed. Anyways, I really appreciate these recap kind of YouTube shows that like get into that because like growing up when I was in single digits, I was a Star Wars geek. And then like I found Star Trek via Voyager. I mean, I always knew of it. My mom always kind of liked it, but that was the one that got me. TNG never really interested me, not the original series. And I have an appreciation for all of it. So anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think I should actually watch those short treks now. All this on Paramount Plus. Ding. Um, in addition to that, I did start a little bit on catching up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe by using Disney Plus's. Um, the one thing I like about Disney Plus over Paramount Plus doesn't like split off any of their franchises or anything, so you can specifically look for stuff in that franchise. They just have the general categories, but Disney Plus like has a Star Wars section, has a Marvel section, has these different sections. So I could go into Marvel and I can go down to a nice little playlist they have of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in chronological order. And so I've been looking through and of course skipping this stuff I've already seen and catching up a little bit on that. And then eventually I'll go back to Star Wars, which I think I'm already essentially mostly caught about. I think I'm only missing the Book of Boba Fett.
So you've been watching Andor?
And Andor. I haven't started watching. I've been focused on Trek and Marvel right now.
Okay.
I just finished watching. Well, I did skip through a few parts, but WandaVision is where I am on the timeline right now, and then it just started Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, but
yeah.
The month of October has been primarily Star Trek and me just being obsessed with watching Trek culture videos.
I will say this, Jeff, that the Disney Plus option to watch things in like chronological versus like release order versus, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff I think is a little bit helpful because I remember for many, many years there was like this whole thing about in the Star Wars universe. It was like, well, which order do you watch it in? Like, do you watch it in like the theatrical release? Do you watch it in the technical timeline order? Blah, blah, blah. So it's an option people can consider.
Right.
I mean, and for both of those, I mean, in the case of Star Wars, I watched it theatrically because I grew up with it. And the only thing that when I was a kid was the original series. And then I saw the prequels and then I saw the sequels. And personally, I think that if you had to do at least of the main series, theatrical order is probably the best, honestly, if you haven't watched it ever and don't know the thing that happens in Empire Strikes Back.
I stand corrected, by the way. Sean is Pan, not Bi.
And now we know.
There.
Oh, there we go.
It's in the chat. Two thirsty bitches can calm down now. Although I do appreciate his tagline on his Twitter. It says smut peddler orgasm enthusiast.
Nice. That is cute.
So anyways.
Cool. Okay. We're not going to get distracted. In any case, to continue. Also, work-wise, because of how our training department was set up, and we, for our primary workflow, I've been the specialist for the classroom training on, and have made an entire curriculum for that. And then finally, one of our other workflows, because we got like 5. You might be able to count 2 others, but I think it's primarily 5 workflows. Basically, we're really only primarily training one workflow, and then so now we're pulling in another workflow that is having some issues, and we're trying to actually get into basically setting up proper training instead of being like, okay, we got you onboarded. Here you go over to the group. They'll train you as you go. They have to do their job as well as try to train you at the same time. Well, now I'm going to take over the initial training before we actually throw them on the floor. But I'm learning that some of the people, because we're despite having gone back to the office in April, we still have some people that are work from home, not in the local area. So finally, they're going away, which means I had to, before the primary lead of that team left, they had me do some training, and then as we were doing the training, I learned where all their flaws are. And so I'm like, at this point, I still can't make a training thing because it's just all over the place. And some of the stuff that was talked about was more of like management stuff. And I'm like, that's not what I'm going to be training. and it just was kind of a debacle. Learned some stuff, but still getting the curriculum to actually developing the syllabus, you might say. I'm going to need a little bit more time on that. But fortunately, we'll get some more detailed without the work from home people this week. So, or yeah, this week. That's pretty much it. Damon?
Hey.
I know, that was so thrilling.
So October was a month, and big thing for me was, hey, it was my birthday. Woo-woo. Yay.
Yay!
So
now everybody's older than me again.
Yay. Anyway, I was waiting for Gary to say something, but he didn't. With that though, I did my traditional taking time off work. I took basically the 24th through the 31st off work. I did some gaming. I actually had a board meeting for the course on my birthday, which was kind of nice. And then I traveled. I went to go see Mr. AJ Pup Zero in the Baltimore, DC area, and had spent a few days with him. Always the most amazing host. We went to great food places. We had a lot of great food. We went to, there's a Starbucks near him that is brand spanking new, and I love, and I know it's weird because it's Starbucks, but like it's sitting in there in this plaza, but it's raised up because the plaza itself is raised up, and they've built walkways from the sidewalk down below, like stairways up to it. And it was, I don't know why, but it was kind of the coolest thing. While we were there the first day, I saw two people that made their way up and were sitting on the back. They got drinks and they were sitting on the front patio area. And then they got finished with their stuff. They threw it away, and then they walked down the steps and made it to the bus. There was a bus stop right over there, and it was kind of just like this really cool moment where like they probably maybe planned it, or maybe they're like, we don't have to get to where we need to go right away, so let's just like casually, relax and have a coffee and everything. So it just tickled me a little bit. I don't know why. We went to 2 bars, one in DC, one in Baltimore. If you follow me on Facebook, I was not as impressed this time around with the going to the bars. The Friday night, we went to Uproar in DC. The bar is nice, kind of cliquish, unfortunately. There were a lot of like circles, like people crowded around each other, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves about like a bar being out. Like they literally enclose themselves around each other, and you can't really go in and interrupt. It feels weird to like try to have a conversation with someone that you don't know. And for whatever reason, the bar, it had a lower level with a big bar and like a few tables, and then everything was closed in the middle, and on the top was the rooftop, and it was cold. It wasn't like frigid, but it was chilly. but people were out there like hanging out and having conversations, and it was just like I can't. There's not a whole lot of just like sitting space to like have a conversation. Anyway, that being said, and DC's super busy, especially at night. I did not expect that. And then on Saturday we went to the Eagle. We had been there before. It was Halloween weekend. I'll put it like that. There were a lot of people. The bar itself has I call it an identity crisis. It's a lot of things going on, and it's got a few areas. Like there's the code area, which is kind of the leather bar where you're supposedly, not so much since COVID, but you're supposed to be in like leather or shirtless or whatever. It's that whole like classic leather bar vibe, except it wasn't because it was Halloween. And so, but they did have a DJ. They have their own little area where they have a dance floor. There were several DJs, and I think that was part of the problem as well. You could go from one end of the bar to the next, and then there's an area upstairs, and hear totally different music from one area to the next, and it just feels conflicts against each other. And then there was a drag show, and there was a costume contest, and there was the leather area, but there was nothing really with the leather area. It was just sort of a space, but they had a DJ and a dance floor. So I don't know what was going on. And just like I said, it just was all these things kind of mashed on top of each other. I told AJ as we were leaving, I think I would be fine with this bar if it wasn't called Eagle. Because there is a connotation when you call a bar the Eagle. There is an expectation, and this is not really that. If it were anything else, and this is me being a little ranty, but if it had been called anything else, I would have been fine with it. But the fact that it's an eagle, which is, like I said, has a very specific kind of frame,
right,
it doesn't quite work. Having said that, though, the rest of the evening was fine. Flights were good. The rest of the week was good. I had a really good weekend. And again, thank you, AJ, for hosting as always. We had wonderful conversations, like always. And it was a good time to get away and celebrate my 43rd birthday. Yeah, that was it.
Here we go.
Gary.
I'm glad you had a good time. I think that's an interesting observation that a bar with a certain title is kind of expected to carry something forward.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's, some might say, not me, but some might say like that's a legacy artifact.
That could be it too. And that's where I don't want to get into it too much, but maybe that's, older thinking that needs to change with the times. Because again, a bar in itself is ultimately an entity and a business, and it needs to move with the times in order to progress and be popular and make money. So,
right. Yeah, it's difficult to say what that is, but I think you can do it. You can be successful and still be of the time. But anyways,
true.
Yeah.
With that, how about you?
So the month of October, yeah. So I got COVID in September. We talked about that last month, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I came up positive for 3 weeks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And felt it for the 3 weeks, especially after the first week when I did the Paxlovid treatment. The following 2 weeks, solid. I was just lethargic and tired and like just was like, what the fuck. And so I got to the end of the third week, and almost halfway into October, and then I woke up one morning and I was on my way to work, and then I was like, oh, I feel different.
In a good way.
Right. But it was weird because it wasn't quite like a light switch, but it wasn't really a dimmer either. It's not like over 2 days I got better. It was like I went to bed one night, I woke up the next morning, and it took me a moment to catch on to the fact that the morning getting ready for work and all that wasn't as much of a slog.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt more like my old self, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So I tested myself with a rapid at-home test when I got to work and came back negative. So I wasn't going to like jump for joy or anything. So I waited another 48 hours. I did another rapid. That one came back negative. I had already scheduled myself for a PCR to have an absolute guarantee that I was negative. Sure enough. And then a week later, I got an email notification at work that I was exposed to a coworker who tested positive for COVID.
Son of a bitch.
So, and what it is it was the division director had sent me the email privately and then called me because I was still at work and was leaving the building and saw that my car was there and was like, hey, I saw that your vehicle was still here. I figured I'd give you a ring. I was like, I saw the email, and they're like, okay, well, monitor symptoms for 10 days and that. So I told them, I was like, I just came off of being positive a week ago. And they're like, oh. And they of course they didn't know because it's, we're not broadcasting this stuff at work. And they were like, well, hopefully you have a robust immune system. And right.
Nice.
Can you imagine?
Well, and the thing is like I can't get the bivalent booster for 3 months basically.
Right.
From when I was last positive. So I was already kind of well aware of that. However, I still think when I was in Florida and I got COVID, I also ended up with RSV because that was still kind of an issue that was going on for a couple of weeks after my COVID theoretically was now negative, up to the point including that I had concerns last week. Yeah, this past week. We get to the end of the month, and the last full week of October coming into November, I was like, man, like what has happened to me? Like I thought I had like 2 good weeks. And then things were feeling funky and weird. So I'm like doing my at-home like blood pressure checks, and my blood pressure seems to be up, and I'm like, the fuck. Like I'm sitting, like I'm pretty sedentary. Like I sit a lot. So I'm like, okay, I keep doing my blood pressure checks and they're higher than what my normal reading is. And I'm on some pressure meds, but I was like, great. So I ended up reaching out to my cardiologist. I was like, hey, I'm not feeling too hot, like this and that. So anyways, I was able to get an appointment pretty quickly with them. So then I got to wear a heart monitor for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, my cardiologist was like, well, so I don't think because they checked my blood pressure while I was there for an exam, and they were like, your blood pressure's fine. And I was like, uh-huh.
But,
And right. And it was funny because so we, discussed symptoms and different stuff. And so of course, I admitted that I did the bad boo-boo thing, and I went online and was looking at my symptoms. And I told my cardiologist that I did look at like the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic specifically, not just, random internet search. So I'm going to trusted sources. And they were like, well, that was a good idea. They said, just so you know, you don't have this one thing that you think might be related because your symptoms aren't matching. And here's why. Because it's not what you're describing. It would be like a literal like ice picker knife like being shoved into you kind of sensation. And then it's not what you described. And I was like, that is accurate. And they're like, see? So I was like, okay, good to know. So I learned something. My cardiologist told me that sometimes when you're ill and you're fighting a virus, like your body does all sorts of funky things up to and including like messing around like with your heartbeat. And so like they were describing, they were like, it kind of sounds like what you were noticing was the fact that your heart was kind of resetting itself. So like if you get a pacemaker or if you end up actually going through some procedures, they try to like reset you the electrical like rhythm of your heart. but your heart can do it on its own. But what he was saying is normally we don't ever notice that.
Right.
He's like, it just does it automatically. We don't physically have a sensation or any notice of it. He's like, but it seems like you might have for a little while. And I was like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm waiting to, it takes over a week to get the results from the 48-hour observation, but
Yeah.
we're waiting to see how that comes. So this past month felt like a health roller coaster. Like it was kind of not great, and then it got better, and then it was really nice, and then not so much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It didn't help for me that we have been dealing with like 67 degrees. I know this doesn't, like, Jeff, it's not, you're fine. But like for us in this area, we're not used to having temperatures this high this late. And also it drops like 20, 40 degrees throughout the evening. So I have been dealing with like earlier I had to go grab some Kleenexes because my nose was running. Like I've been dealing with this off and on for days now because it's like, oh hey, like your the weather is being funky and you're being really hot, but you're not really hot, and oh maybe you're sick, and no you're not sick. So like all my things are like triggering at the same time, and I know I'm fine. I haven't caught COVID. I tested myself after after my trip. So I know I'm fine for all of this. It's just that annoyance of like any symptom, anything that's related is like it becomes that moment of like, what is this? Is this going to be like everything? I got my bivalent. I got my, vaccines and all that shit. So here we go. But it isn't.
Yeah.
It's just, and in addition to that, granted, I work from home, so I don't have to worry about this too much. But there's a stomach virus going around here. So, like, my game today was canceled because our GM had caught a stomach virus, and apparently one of our players had caught it a couple weeks before. So it's kind of like they weren't gaming, but they didn't catch it from each other. But
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things going on out there. In fact, I saw an article in our local paper recently that someone was like, what's really disappointing is to go into different places of business and not see hand sanitizer like we did during COVID. Like one of the least things you can do as a business is kind of keep that out there for people's awareness so that they can remember to at least sanitize their hands because they're constantly touching surfaces.
Right.
Why? Because it's influenza and RSV season, kids, on top of COVID. So like,
right.
And I thought that was an interesting observation. They were like, it's a little disappointing because, you can wear your own mask. But, like what happened with me, to be fair, I will totally own, I felt complacent. Like I just got comfortable having gone for a couple of years and not having contacted it and then contracted it. And then lo and behold, it happened when I was, on vacation. So anyways,
Right.
At work is just kind of crazy. In the past month, we had 2 more people leave. No, sorry. We had 3 people leave. 1 person got hired. Is that how the math works out? Something like that. So no matter what, we're at a deficit, and we're still at a deficit, and now a bigger deficit. So yeah, I'm just, and I feel like I need to pay better attention because now this is the 3rd last quarter of the year kind of experience, and I'm feeling like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I went through something not quite similar, but a very busy Q4 last year, possibly the year before. So I'm feeling like, you know what? This is probably what I should just prepare myself for. Like in Q3, I should be ramping up and getting ready for 3 months of busy. So, because right now, this month is kind of all cattywampus because I'm off. I'm going to miss work for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to miss work for 9.5 days this month out of... I'm trying to do the math. Out of 21 days, 21 working days. Is that right?
Are you talking about the month of November?
Yeah. So like some of them are vacation. Like, I mean, some of them are like just we're not open. So like it's a big chunk of thing. I just realized, yeah, I'm missing almost half of work this month, which is probably another reason why I'm a little stressed, because I'm like, oh, great. So I have like, to still get shit done in the same amount of time or less time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so next month I'll probably talk about how this month went in the end. Anyways.
We shall see.
Oh, and before I forget, because I won't remember this in a couple of weeks, I'm just going to say this. I have used Grubhub repeatedly, like with some not real frequency, but this past week I had one of the worst experiences ever. So, and I don't really want to blame the platform. I don't think it was their fault. Also, it wasn't the driver's fault. It was the restaurant and just what happened. It took longer than originally estimated. It was messy. Then the food arrived, and I thought the food was not very good and was subpar, and not only portion, but also like just what they gave me. I was so irritated about it. I was livid, honestly. Because in the end, I was like, you know what I could have done with that money? I could have gone to the grocery store and made like 3 of these things myself. But I didn't, because I was being lazy. Anyways. That's enough.
That's all.
And with that, it's time for... Gary, what's been going on in the Twitterverse?
Well, despite the shitstorm that is Twitter currently, because someone new took over and then apparently, according to many opinions I've seen, is basically being a big-ass crybaby because they're losing on their investment. Anyways. I know. Also is very hypocritical. Is like, this is going to be a free speech platform, and then keeps like suspending people left and right. Okay. Anyways, over on Twitter, we actually got a few more followers. So we would like to thank the following individuals. Rami19795, Huz He How 520, Prothope or Prothope, Eric Crew 626766754, Grizz Guy 619, Blue Box 715, Rhino Dog 121, Alex Likes D, hey, and Just a Bear in SP. So yeah. Grizz Guy 619, I'm curious. I'm gonna have to go look them up because I'm pretty sure that is San Diego area code.
I mean, there once was a podcast which was in 619.
Right. I'm thinking about it. Anyways. So that's the Twitter stuff. Damon, anything on the YouTube fronts?
Sure. We got a new subscriber on YouTube, and his name is Hyper Insanity. Okay.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's all in caps. So.
Right. Anywho,
it's not Hyper Insanity. It's Hyper Insanity.
Right. So thank you. Welcome. Your name here.
Cute.
In other words, I'm not going to yell that again.
Right. Jeff, what about Facebook?
Over on the Facebooks, we have Dale new follows and likes. Follows, I'm assuming. From Dale Brewster, Samay Al-Masir, I don't know. Frank Van Kempenhout, Carlos Mattel, Sahan Navad, Andy Clark, Christian Raganalti, Geraldo Carminata, or Geraldo, but I'm assuming it's Geraldo. Angelo Megalon, Tony Omen, Ryan James Tabby, Meryl Curtis Zamel. And then we got a comment from Owen. Owen said, hey, just watch, in regards to, let's talk about film, our COL interrupt episode, and in regards to bros. Owen said, hey, just watch the review. Watch this review. I would say that I agree with everything that was said. This is actually over on Patreon, excuse me. However, there's one point that is kind of glossed over. Well, yes, I agree with Gary about the main character's a pit of an arse at times. I think he meant bit, but typo. I don't believe he does it to be mean. He's just very passionate and opinionated. While he does have a very abrasive personality, there is one person who was attracted to him and accepted him for who he was, or at least seemed like he did up until the holiday dinner with the family. Yes, I found the scene cringy, but maybe not for the reasons Gary did, as I feel the point of the scene was that the boyfriend was not entirely at ease with this person who he supposedly was attracted to when introducing him to family and friends, and told him to tone himself down. This, in effect, resulted in the dinner scene going the way it did. I would say this is an important point made, as acceptance of who people are is a major theme in LGBTQ plus culture. And if you can't really get that from people who you're attracted to, who will you get it from?
Rather interesting observation.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that, Owen, because I mean your last final point is like the cherry on top, right? Like if our community is supposed to be like encompassing, welcoming, everyone gets a seat at the table, quote unquote, then what does that mean, when that doesn't quite work out, which is such a broader like concept, really. I don't know. I think the scene didn't play out very well for me, because what you're pointing out is, as I'm remembering that scene in the movie, I'm thinking to myself, I think it moved too fast. But again, it's a rom-com. And this isn't really a genre that I watch or I care for. So in rom-coms, timey-wimey, things don't have to make sense. Like, things move very quickly, then things move very slow, whatever. And yeah, so I think the scene wasn't taking place in real time very well. And so that's what bothered me, because I think if we were trying to gradually evolve Bobby as the character to become more and more annoying, because in reality he's subconsciously pissed at Luke for telling him prior to kind of tone it down, that didn't really gradually build very well. So it just kind of like it leveled up too quickly. And I'm like, but baby, you didn't get the XP to earn the level up. Like, so like that wasn't working for me. And I was just like, oh yeah, cringe, more cringe. Ooh, biggest cringe. Got it. This is gonna get ugly. And it did, so I'm not saying I disagree with Owen. I think it's a very interesting perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. So we can move on.
Oh. But that. Oh, speaking of which, probably have a thing, don't I? Has there been any updates? There haven't been any updates, have there?
Yes,
Gary,
there is.
Is there? Okay. Hold on.
I forgot to mention that before we went live, I guess.
We're not prepared. There we go. Updated.
Okay.
Tell us about the Patreon updates.
Yeah, so we would like to welcome our newest buddy level patron, Owen.
Yay!
Who joined
That's
us
why
on
he was able
October
to comment
2nd.
on Patreon.
Correct.
Huzzah!
So yeah, Owen joined us over on Patreon at the buddy level. So we want to give big bear cub hugs to our following patrons at the Cubster level: Charles W., Daniel C., and Michael K. The Ubers, which are Dave T., Lee, Michael Q., and Tim S., plus our buddies Lloyd G., Michael V., and now Owen.
Yay!
Thank you for supporting us over on Patreon.
We are inching ever so closer to our new level thing that you get as patrons. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Damon.
No. It's fine. I was going to do the shameless plug of like, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/cubsoutloud.
Ding.
Ding. You need to add that to the soundboard.
Just the ding.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, if it's like a crystal like thing, like I don't know what that gets called.
I think it's more like the triangle. Ding.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. So that's Patreon. So yeah, we're getting closer because what it comes down to is when we get to after fees $50 a month, then there will be a patron only episode kind of thing that we'll put together. I think it's every other month. So
Bi-monthly.
Yeah.
Excellent day. And Gary, tell us about the last month. Shows has been, well, we got a lot of shows last month compared to most months.
Yes, because there were actually 5 Sundays in the month of October.
Mhm.
So we had the What's Going On for September 2022 to start off the month. And then we went into an all tea, no shade, Tumblr's second chance question mark. So if you were listening to the pre-show, patrons got to hear us talk about how there's some people kind of tipping their toe back into Tumblr because, Twitter's turning into a shit show apparently. And everyone's kind of like, where do I go? Like, it's kind of cracking me up because I keep seeing this because people are like, where is the porn going? That's really what it comes down to more often than not.
Is it going anywhere from the platform I'm currently on? Is it actually transferring back to Tumblr? Where?
I don't know.
Right. Where
can I find my dick?
Right. Where do I get to watch so I can bait? Anyways, then we did as we were saying earlier, the Let's Talk About, and we did Bros, the film, because we happened to go see this thing and we wanted to discuss how it went. Anyways, then we went on to Let's Talk About Food, online trends, and quote unquote hacks.
And we didn't even use TikTok, where most of these trends and hacks usually are.
Yes, because we're old men. Call back to pre-show. And then last week, episode 669, Landscape of Relationships, we had Dr. Edward Angelini Cook rejoin us, and we discussed relationship anarchy. And if you haven't been listening to all of the Landscape of Relationship series or are interested to know more, that last episode title I feel is probably misleading for most folks. But a good education to listen to what he explains about it and what relationship anarchy is defined as and how it happens. So, yeah, that was last week.
Sweet.
There is some order to the chaos that is relationship anarchy. But in any case, it's time for, well, dick. Okay, that's enough. So I admit that for me, I did do one which was kind of a promotion for somebody's OnlyFans, but I like the picture. I entitled it a nice snack.
Okay.
That is very appropriate. Oh wow, that's not a snack, honey. That's a meal.
That's
Hang on, I'm not there yet. I'm working on something else. Anyways. Oh wait, is this who I think it is?
Meatball Dude.
Yes.
Dude Meatball.
Yes, I follow both their regular account and this is their alt. He is a connoisseur of big men. And this is the first that I've seen that they've posted on their Twitter of them enjoying a larger man. And I was quite appreciative of this and the naughtiness of it, because this is in a commercial public establishment. And how do I know that? Not only is it the decor, but if you look at the very top of the photo, you can see there's emergency lighting next to the ceiling, which I'm sorry, bitches, I don't know nobody who puts that in their house. So yeah, that's a public bathroom.
Yep.
More than likely, kind of as I keep looking, as I'm investigating this
further. It's not that hard because who would have in a regular bathroom that type of like tile wall or the tiled floor? Is it definitely some sort of either public restroom or public stairway?
It's probably, it looks like, I don't know if it's a restroom, but it might be. I'm trying to
I don't know. There's a door right behind him.
Yeah, it could be a family restroom. Uh,
Maybe.
but
Hi.
it's missing. It's definitely a family restroom now. No, anyway. Um, hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely it might be a restroom. I'm pretty sure. And with it being a family restroom, sorry to add, since you mentioned the emergency lighting, if it's a single-use restroom, whether family or not, that would make sense because then if the lights went out in that one room, it would because usually the family ones are enclosed and
Right.
there's no windows or what have you. So
And notably, family restrooms, there's typically a lock mechanism on the door
that
because it's usually just a single unit. Like
right.
it doesn't even really have a stall. It's probably just like the vanity, like and the commode and like trash can and that kind of jazz.
There
so
might be a um not safety for babies, the changing table.
right.
There it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that.
So, but yes, when I saw that they posted this, I was like, oh my! Like I've been following this person on their regular Twitter for probably a year and a half to 2 years, and I don't even know how I randomly came across the alt because I wasn't looking for it. That's usually what happens with alts. Like someone somewhere like kind of references it or whatever. Sometimes people like will list or then I say that with love.
Dirty.
Yeah, no, I was just like,
Also,
wow,
my earbuds
okay.
booked out, so for like 30 seconds they couldn't hear. Nobody could hear you, but that's okay. It went to these
Oh.
headphones, so we're good.
Anyways.
Damn.
No, so anyways, I thought this was good. But what I like about this is technically this is they're promoting their OnlyFans, and they make me laugh because they're like, the whole video is up on OnlyFans, $5 a month, cheap. You know. So, but yeah, the fact that they're on their knees,
He's
with
got a nice little butt there too.
yeah,
Just
with
saying.
almost not a stitch on it, it is like going to town on eating that rump. I'm just like, wow, okay, hi,
Hi.
yeah, yeah.
You're welcome.
Anyways, Damon, what are your picks?
Oh wait, sorry. What? Sorry, I was looking at it through his Twitter. I'm sorry. I was curious. Anyway, so I have two. The first one's Jocktober. It's one of my favorite people on Twitter, Pup Ferdy. And this lovely blue harness, from Cell Block harness jock combo. It was Jocktober for October. It kind of felt appropriate to do this one. So he's a beautiful bearded man with a great taste in clothing and looks good in it. And oh yeah, he's lovely. Anyway.
Also, well, okay, I have two thoughts. One, this blue is a beautiful color of blue.
Right.
And how does one get a harness with a pup hood like logo thing on it?
Yes. So Cell Block 13, which is the ones that made it, they do a lot of that kind of stuff. They actually I have a pair of socks of theirs that I wore for NAB that have dog bones. Like you put it on and the back of it on the calf has dog bones going down. So they have a lot of stuff that is kind of pup themed or pet themed, mostly pup themed, that they have. And I think this is it's probably it's a matching set, dear.
It's the Kennel Club.
Oh yeah, it's
line.
also on the jock. I see that. But I was thinking like, yeah, but if you're a pup and you have a blue hood, it would almost like kind of make it look custom.
Right.
So that's really where the question was coming from for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
It could. Cool. Yeah. Like I've seen the Cell Block, the Kennel. Yeah, right. I think they have a set called Kennel Club, and I would love to have this, but it's not going to fit me. It fits you wonderfully, Putt Furdy, but it will not fit me. But that's okay. It looks good on you. Thank you for sharing.
Agreed.
Speaking of me,
Uh-oh.
Time for a
shameless
shameless
self. Yep.
Little promo.
Shameless self promo is my other pick, and it's actually me. It's from my Twitter, but the photos itself were taken by Wolfbound during World Bear, and I think I may have mentioned this during the On the Road show. I did a photo shoot for Wolfbound, where I got tied up and all that stuff, and this was just one of the pictures, and um, uh, so there you go. Anyone that ever wanted to see me, like mostly, I'm wearing underwear and stuff, but uh, fun story. So Slade, who is the person who owns Wolfbound, he was teaching a class, and Jim and I were in the class. We were attending the class, and Slade and I had already talked about me doing a shoot for him during the weekend. Um, I had expected him to be like, "Oh, I'll message you, I'll text you when we're going to do it, so I can know when to do it." And we got done with the class. Everyone mostly left. We were just kind of sitting there talking, bullshitting around. And he's like, "So we're doing this now, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, we're doing this now." I'm like, "I already have all my stuff here." I'm like, "What?" So he was kind of like, or he didn't say we're doing this now. He did ask. Don't. So before
We're doing this now? Question mark.
Yeah.
Because the way you said it, David, I was like, "Oh, that was very dumb."
Yeah. Well, he is.
I know.
But we so Jim was there. So but it's funny, we're in the conference room at the hotel where we had just had a class. There was nothing else going on in there, but next door was the pet social. And I had my trepidations, but I was like, Slade was like, "No one's going to be coming in here." And I was like, "Yeah, it made sense." I stepped outside to go to the restroom because I had, and I noticed that they're setting up a bar because there's an event in nearby later on. So they were setting up a bar. So the staff is there. And I was kind of like, this could get awkward if one of them for some reason has to walk in here. But no, they were fine. It was fine. Slade is a dick because he found the one, well, not one, but one of my major weaknesses, which is I am extremely ticklish, in particular on my feet. So if you're looking at that picture, you'll notice I'm wearing socks. He was able to pull. He was fiddling around with shit, and he was kind of like he does his video. He does this audio. It's photos and also video. He does a video kind of moment, and he was kind of doing that, and he grabbed the bottom of my foot. I think he was grabbing it to move it, but he hit a spot on my foot, I think in the middle, that I am extremely ticklish for. And he noticed that, and he went and he ran with it. And
it was like, oh.
Yeah, right. It was very much that moment, like, okay. So now I know this. And of course, I am tied up. I can't get away. And he took it. I mean, he took it in his stride. It wasn't his sole focus, which is always a good thing. But he would go back to it off and on, and I think it made the video interesting. The fact that Jim was there made things less nervous for me. And I do trust Slade. So that all kind of like made for, I think, a very comfortable and fun experience that would I try again for sure. Definitely. So wolfbound.com. You can purchase sites. You can see all the videos. You can see all the photos. I believe I'm already up there. There you go. Yeah. Ta-da!
Nice.
Gary?
I have two as well. The first one I titled "Probably Someone Out There Lusting Over You and You Don't Know It."
Wow.
Yeah, so this is a Halloween thing. I'm not much into horror or gore or any of that kind of stuff. So I don't really see any of the franchises that are very popular in the Halloween spoopy season. But this just cracked me up in a way that I just couldn't explain. And like it also is pretty twisted. So it's a beautiful art, like comic kind of style, one shot, like, just this one panel piece or whatever. And so it's got these two guys in the woods that are basically fucking, which is hysterical, and they have their backs towards you, and the one says, they're talking about like having sex and trying to keep it down, but what they don't know is that closer to you in this square artistic shot is apparently Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th series.
Right.
And apparently Jason Voorhees...
This is Michael Myers.
Oh.
Jason Voorhees.
Yes, this is the hockey mask.
The hockey is in that...
No, the hockey mask is Jason.
Okay. Can't remember.
Yeah. So, but anyways, apparently Jason is thick. THICC. And he is naked, only with the hockey mask on, and he has a very erect, throbbing penis that is dripping pre-cum watching these two guys fuck in the woods.
Right?
It is so twisted. I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, and yet at the same time, I was so titillated by it. I was like, okay, I have to share. It's so messy. Anyways.
He's also got a really hairy back.
Oh yeah, he does. From his neck all the way down. Yeah. But it's so twisted. And the reason I also liked it and I had to share it was because I know gays. I know gays that are really into like these horror spoopy things. So it was just messing with me so bad because I was like, I know there are some perverted motherfuckers out there that would I would let that man kill me twice. Like kill me with his penis and literally just kill me.
Right.
So yeah. So there's that. And then the second one I titled Buttocks Wall. Because that's actually what the tweet is titled when you translate it. It is another comic cartoon style posting, and it's 3 panel pieces from top to bottom, but it's kind of a sort of a spoof on those videos, if you remember them. I don't know if they were Andrew Christian or Cody or whatever. They're very popular quite a while ago.
Yeah, the Czech ones.
Yeah, the Czechoslovakian or Eastern European ones. Anyway, so this is kind of a spoof on that, but it's all bears. And so there's a black and brown bear who is bound and trapped halfway in a wall. I don't know if I want to say trapped, but he's being used by several people.
It's not a bear.
It's a Rottie.
It's a puppy. It's a dog.
Yeah, it's a Rottie. It's a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I thought it was just really cute. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm noticing it. So I'm looking at this, and definitely being used. Like there's at least 2, if not 3, in the back, and you can see it. And then you go to the last panel, and all it's like those Vinger ones, or not Vinger, the Czech ones, where he's kind of strapped and chained to this in this position, and as you get to the front, you see another penis. So now there's going to be 4, at least 4.
Right. I just realized I need to send this to somebody. Anyways, hang on. No caption. I'm just sending it
There you go.
because I know it'll probably break their brain. Anyways,
That's fair.
so yeah, just some
Some
comic
fun
style Farah stuff.
Neat.
Nice.
Moving on into the links, I'm going to recommend on Paramount Plus, Strange New Worlds. Think of this as if the original series was done today and just used Captain Pike instead of actually switching over to Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I have enjoyed Strange New Worlds because I never really saw the original series. It's new, quote unquote, to me, and yet I understand like they're kind of branching off as in what it was like with Captain Pike before Kirk, basically. So it is pretty cool because they're like it is throwback and yet modern and some other things in between, and it's episodic. So like while there is sort of carryover storylines, like each individual episode each week is kind of to itself.
And in some senses, a spin-off of Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
One of the complaints I've heard about at least the newer Trek shows is like, well, this doesn't look anything like how the original Trek was. And I'll say this: look, if they had the effects camera technology that they had nowadays back in the '60s, they probably would have filmed it kind of like this. That's probably what they would probably go more for. Might be a little bit more out of the Roddenberry vision, just because of well, Mr. Roddenberry is no longer with us,
right?
But and probably a little more on this side of action oriented than some of the other than anything else. But this is the latest series from Paramount Plus and Paramount in general. So that's why I say Strange New Worlds, because one season, they're going to be doing another season. And but I do like the guy who plays Spock, because one of the recent episodes was kind of like a alternative version of one of the original TOS episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this shot where they zoom into Spock, like the first time they see a Romulan, and he raises his eyebrow a certain way.
Yeah.
And they basically recreate that in this episode.
Yeah.
So, which I think is really cool. So.
And I've really enjoyed it. The thing I feel for these franchises that have been around for decades now is the difficulty of the advancement of technology and how, like, when you go back to the original properties, like, and you're watching them, how you can see how they've aged. And the challenge of, like, things are just not contemporary. And the further we go forward in time, the more and more that will become challenging. And it makes me wonder if they're going to eventually attempt to recreate the original things with modern technology to sort of catch things up.
Yeah, they would probably also adjust the story to be more modern day like. They're not going to just like shot for shot remake with current effects old episodes. They're just not going to do that.
Right.
But I also think fans wouldn't complain about that.
Yeah, it would be a cool thing. I just don't think it probably won't happen, but it'd be kind of cool to see.
I just realized I needed to catch myself and be like, well, fans are going to be fans. They're going to have opinions.
Right.
So
yeah,
anyway.
I was going to say, like, I was like, you said that, I went,
Right. Because you can't make the fans happy. That's what that comes down to.
But that's my Paramount Plus recommendation for this month, since I've been watching. I mean, watching is kind of a really strange way of saying it, considering it's really more of having it on my second screen while I do other things, but still, I'm hearing the story. If anything, I'm looking over on occasion in my side eye.
Nice.
Gary.
So I have 2 selections from Disney Plus. It is my preferred platform, I'll be honest, of the things that I pay subscriptions service to. The first one is in the Marvel Universe. It's Werewolf by Night. If you didn't get to see it in spoopy season, you can still see it. Obviously, it's on there. I really liked this because it was so outside the box of everything that had been done to date. It is black and white, sort of film noir, such a beautiful homage to those monster serial movies that were made 60, 70, 80, 90 years ago, practically. Like, it's just, I just really appreciated how they did that. And yeah, like it's one of those things where it was, I mean, it is a little, it's not really so much scary. There is some kind of, like, I don't want to say gore, but it's meant to be horror-ish. So, but yeah, and having been a person who didn't really read comics, like, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, what the characters are. I don't know, like, if this is a real storyline or anything. And Marvel seems to be, like, really doing decently, from what I can understand, with taking all sorts of various things from different comics and bringing them together. So maybe you see a character name, but their personality is a little different, or the reference is slightly changed or whatever. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, because the comics in and of themselves, they're not perfect, and some of them are highly problematic. And so, when there was racism in the 60s and 70s in comics, perhaps we don't really want to carry that forward. And I can appreciate slight changes to things, when I hear and I see a recap show and they're talking about, oh, well, this was changed and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. The other thing, which I really, really enjoyed, surprisingly, I honestly was a little hesitant on this, is Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. It's a limited series of 6 episodes. They're pretty short. I think they're only about 20 minutes each. And it follows basically 2 storyline tracks, Count Dooku and Ahsoka Tano. And how what's interesting is that there's sort of some parallels between the 2 characters, and how, in theory, like, one kind of leads to the other. They don't overtly say that. That's stuff that I've kind of understood from watching some people kind of recap and talked about it. But it was really good. If you liked the Clone Wars, if you liked the Bad Batch, if you liked, that kind of animation era style. And I'm a huge Ahsoka fan. Like, I just like this character as a creation that is part of the technical Skywalker saga legacy, and yet not, because one of the biggest criticisms for quite a while ago was, like, how does this character exist and yet doesn't appear into any of the films? And over the years, they've been explaining that, like, conceptually, as to how this person could have existed and yet never be referenced or talked about or whatever. And so this is a really good, like, piece of that. And the episodes are kind of, I don't want to say they jump around, but it's not like you're watching 3 episodes of a character back to back to back that are, like, in a chronological timeline. It kind of moves around. They're kind of filling in some gaps. Now, I know that there was some criticism about some changes, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, there's a part of me that's like, bitch, do you own it? No? Then calm down. Like, this is my issue about fandom. Fanatics get their panties in a wad, and it's crawling up their crack, and they get super irritated about it. And I'm kind of like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. You don't have to be involved. You don't have to participate in it.
Yeah.
I see you, David. I see you with the fact fan. So I kind of feel like, and as I've gotten older, I feel like, yeah, when I was younger, I was really kind of fanatical about certain things, and then I just learned to let go. I was like, why? I don't need that kind of energy in my life, and I'm just here to be entertained. Am I entertained? That's the question. Not, well, this isn't canon and you changed this thing and how dare you, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I ain't got time for that.
It's like, go on Twitter, masturbate to something. Jeez. anyways.
I will. Yeah, like I am. Like there are people. Like I've felt the same way about like Marvel and some of the stuff they did. Like you were just talking about, like how there are characters that have been brought in and there are tweaks and stuff here and there, and I'm kind of like, yeah. But what they have done is they've essentially made it their own sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is based on the comics, but it's not the comics, and that's what I have to go with.
The MCU is not 616.
Right. I can respect that these are versions of characters I know, love, hate, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And with like the Star Wars and Star Trek stuff, those things where it's kind of all in this cinematic universe, if you want to even call it that, there's going to be differences. If you were to go through continuity of any character that Marvel, DC, anyone has ever made, you would find inconsistencies because stuff changes all the fucking time.
Right.
New writers, new management, new whatever, and that's just how it is. So if something's a little off, there's going to be off. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Look, why did we have Infinity War when we didn't have Infinity Gauntlet? And the whole storyline about the loving relationship between Thanos and Death, and Nebula having died and then being brought back thanks to the Infinity Stones, and there's a whole bunch of things. You know, I would love to have seen that picture where after getting all the Infinity Stones, Thanos just makes a big old rock formation that says God.
But I think that there's room for all of that, though.
He's like, moving on.
No, I mean, I do think that there's room for all of that, though. Like, I mean, that's one of the criticisms that's happened it's happened now in Star Trek. It's happened in Star Wars. It's sort of happening in Marvel where like people say, oh, they're retconning, you know, or they're changing, or, you know, and then you end up with like in Star Wars, now you have the Legacy series because after Disney purchased, you know, Lucasfilm, there was this whole thing about how like, you know, these things are no longer considered canon and people like lose their fucking minds. And I'm just like,
There
okay.
was no Ben Solo. It was Ben Skywalker. We're missing Mara Jade. And where is Jason and Jaina and Anakin Solo?
Right. But at the same time, like while I read those books and I appreciated that stuff, I'm like, okay. Like there's a part of me that's like, instead of getting upset about it, I just kind of sit back and say, entertain me.
I'm like, whatever.
Just,
Or
like,
as one of my favorite podcasts, Geek History Lesson says, make your own headcanon. I mean,
make it work.
Yeah, like
right,
trying to figure out the complete timeline of Batman.
Right. All fucking day.
Right. No. Wait, that's just to show like how even within, you know, like the DC universe, like how everything is like kind of Kenny Wampus and, you know, and
they rebooted the universe like 4 or 5 times. That might be an exaggeration, but still, it seems that way.
Probably not. From what I understand, that happens a lot in comics, including like a YouTube channel that I
enough, not Marvel.
Well, YouTube kind of cracks me up. There's this channel that I watch, and they're like, are they really dead? Does anyone ever really die in comics? Like, it made me laugh because I was like, wow, they're just really putting it out there and saying if it's an important character, they're not really going to die. That's going to be an alternate universe or something else.
They're just resurrected somehow, or things like,
right.
No, Jean Grey didn't die. It was actually a Phoenix Force clone, and she was still at the bottom of the lake. That sort of thing.
And yet, sometimes people really do die.
Yeah.
Ergo, Uncle Ben. Ergo, Mom, Dad after the opera in an alleyway. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
it's
some things are a constant.
Some things happen.
How many times have Wolverine died in the comics? Like 50,000 by this time.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep going. Let's move on.
Or we can say, hey, that's the end. Probably a great idea. Playways contents. Leave us your comments about the what's your headcanon. You can give us some feedback over on our website, cubsoutloud.com, or you can comment on the blog. Shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail, 361-COL-TALK. That's 361-265-8255. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Cubs Out Loud in the appropriate place of the URL. Now, because of the handles, it is now youtube.com/@CubsOutLoud. And we do have a Tumblr. I'm not sure how that's going, but it's there.
It's there.
Apparently people are creeping into it again. You can join our entourage chat as well, and just chat us up over on Telegram at tinyworld.com/telegram-col. If you would like to know when we're planning on recording these shows, you can find out at our Google Calendar at tinyworld.com/calendar-col. If you would like to get some accoutrement, such as a Consent is My Foreplay shirt and very different styles. I got my generic Pride shirt. We got our Bear Pride shirt. We got our regular logo. I got to point this direction because my camera is not the right thing. So you can find more of that over on Zazzle.com/cubsoutloud. Some of those designs were designed by Smashy. You can find more of his work at thepublic.com/SmashyTheBear, user/SmashyTheBear. You can also comment on our Patreon at patreon.com/cubsoutloud for as little as $1 a month. You can support us and comment like Owen just did. You can also send us a donation at paypal.me/cubsoutloud. You can find us on all the podcast directories, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify, Amazon, and Audible. Please comment and review us there. The more people who do that, the higher in the algorithm we get, so more people will be able to enjoy the show. You can find me anywhere on the internet as Boxset, Boxpuppy, Boxcub, Box something or other, or Windgem, WYNDGEM on Twitch, where I stream bears and dragons. Damon?
If you wish to get in touch with me, you can find me as TheaterCub79. That's TheaterCub79 on most bear-related sites. Are on Facebook, or you can find me as pup_umbra on Twitter. The Twitter is definitely not safe for work.
If you would like to get in touch with me, you can pretty much find me anywhere online as GareBear73.
And with that, say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Ciao for now.